Okay, clearly it's nighttime and I'm outside. What the heck is going on? I actually had this entire video recorded earlier, but my necklace was bumping against my microphone and creating a lot of noise. So I'm having to completely redo it outside, which is how I did it originally. But at nighttime, it's really late here in Wimberley, Texas, which is right outside of Austin. But there's no excuses in YouTubing, so the show must go on. Anyway, you're a guy and there's a girl that you really like, and maybe you've asked her out, maybe you've started dating, or maybe you just want to date her, but you're wondering, what should you do to make her attraction for you grow? And more importantly, what should you not do to make her attraction diminish and go the other direction? So that's what we're covering in today's video. The 11 things that you as a guy should never do in the early stages of dating or trying to date a woman. Hi, I'm Jeff Campbell from DivorcedParentsClub.com, and I'm glad you're here with me. So the first one is telling her how you feel about her. A lot of the time, us guys, we fall head over heels very quickly before we know anything about women. And that's just kind of how we are. We're planning our kids' names and we're thinking about engagement rings, and before we know anything about her. That's just how we kind of are. And so I want you to avoid telling her how you feel about her in the early stages of dating, and especially before you've even had a date. Don't do that. And more importantly, don't tell anyone who might know her, because I guarantee you it's going to get back to her. It's going to make you look needy and pathetic and clingy, and she's going to run screaming in the opposite direction. The next one is don't wait for her to make the first move. If you haven't asked her out yet, ask her out. Send her a text, call her, talk to her in person, however you think she most likely communicates, and ask her out. Women love a confident, strong, centered guy. They're not going to make the first move in most cases, so they're looking to you to be the leader, and you need to do that. Make the first move. Now, of course, in the early stages of dating, you are going to be initiating contact. You're going to be the one asking her out initially, and for the first several dates after that. Eventually, she will start to text you in between dates, and then when she does that, you can set a date for the next one. And then after a while, she will naturally begin to increase the frequency that she's initiating contact with you, and you can pull your contact back. But initially, don't do more than 40% of the initiating. And then I would say by week 7 or 8, you shouldn't be doing more than 20% of the initiating. Now, if she's texting you, absolutely respond. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the first message of a day, or the first message after several hours following the last message. Don't initiate those messages more than 40% of the time to begin with, and then eventually 20% of the time, or ideally hardly anything. The next one is don't get butthurt when she doesn't do what you think she should be doing. That could be how quickly she responds to a text. It could be how she responds to a text. Maybe you sent several sentences and she replied back with just a few words. And you're all like, well, why did she do that? Does she not care? And you're reading into that. And like, she could be busy at work and just like, oh, she saw your text and just had time for a quick reply. You don't know. And don't read into things. Don't jump to conclusions. Don't make assumptions. Now, if she does take 2 hours or more to respond to your text, and you know she's not at work when she could be responding faster than that, that's okay. Then you take that same amount of time to respond back when she does reply. It's not playing games, it's just matching her energy. If you're not any more important to her to take several hours to respond, then you shouldn't see her as any more important either. Match and mirror her behavior. If she waits hours to reply to you and you send a response back instantly, it kind of makes you look a little needy and desperate. You don't want to come across that way. It's not attractive. It will blow up in your face. So match and mirror her behavior, but most importantly, don't get butthurt if she takes a long time to respond, or if you don't like her response, or if she doesn't respond at all. If she doesn't respond at all, that means she's not really right for you, and you should just thank yourself for that showing up early on and cross her off your list and go find somebody else. There's a million fish in the sea. So no sense in getting butthurt and all wrapped up in the fact that she didn't do what you wanted her to do. Don't buy her gifts, at least not in the early stages of dating. Once you are officially her boyfriend, absolutely, no problem there. But in the early stages of dating, buying her gifts, buying her flowers, doing things like that, come across as you trying to buy her love. You're trying to buy your way into her heart, and it makes you look just, again, needy and pathetic, and you don't want to come across that way. So never buy a woman gifts early on in the stages of dating. Wait till you are officially her boyfriend. Don't expect her to pay for dates or go Dutch in the early stages of dating. Whoever asks the other person out is the one who should pay, no exceptions. And in the early stages, it's going to be you asking her out exclusively 100% of the time. Eventually, she may get to where she's asking you out, and if she wants to pay or split the bill, no problem. I don't have an issue with that. And I especially don't have an issue with that once you are officially her boyfriend. But in the early stages of dating, most women are going to expect the guy to pay, and that's totally okay. And you should not sit there with your wallet out waiting to see what she does. Just makes you look, again, needy and pathetic. Don't be that guy. Real quick, before we keep going, if you like this video, hit that like button for me. It sends a great signal to YouTube. They show my video to more people, helps me grow my channel, and it's a great way to say thank you to me for taking the time to make these videos. So I really appreciate you doing that. Could you do it right now for me? Thanks. Being indecisive. And let's face it, we've all seen those couples that are like, well, what do you want to have for dinner, honey? I don't know. What do you want to have for dinner? Well, where do you want to go? I don't know. And then just go back and forth like that for 15 minutes. Or maybe they're doing the same thing, trying to decide what movie on Netflix to watch. Be decisive. Most women are in their feminine and most men are in their masculine. And I'm talking heterosexual relationships here. I'm gender stereotyping a little bit, but generally these patterns hold. And other types of relationships still have those kinds of polarity. Lesbian relationships, heterosexual relationships, and homosexual relationships, they still have those kind of patterns where one is more feminine and one is more masculine. So these patterns hold true. And the couples that stand the test of times are the ones where there's one that's more masculine and one that's more feminine. And in a heterosexual relationship, most of the time, but not exclusively, the man is in the masculine, the woman is in her feminine. So be decisive, be confident, be strong, be the leader. Pick the place to go on your date. Decide what you're doing. That doesn't mean totally be inflexible, and it doesn't mean discounting her wishes. You do want to have a certain amount of flexibility, but you do want to have a clear plan of action of what you want to do. And then you're lighthearted, you're fun, you're flexible, and if things change throughout the course of the night because you're having fun and things seem to be going in a different direction, that's okay. Change the plans, but do have a plan and don't be afraid to stick to it when it seems appropriate. No group dates. And this is especially true if you're going out with her and her friends. But even you and her going out with your friends is still a recipe for disaster early on in the dating stages. And let me tell you why. For starters, if you go out with her and her friends are all going to be judging you. They're all going to be looking at you, and they're going to be looking at how she interacts with you. And guess what? Because she's with her friends and she doesn't know you that well, she's going to be a little awkward. She's going to be a little on pins and needles and maybe a little anxious. And her friends are going to be picking up on that, but they're not necessarily going to know why she's feeling that way. They're just noticing, well, it doesn't seem quite right for her. She's a little weird and she's acting kind of out of the ordinary. And then after the moment you're gone, they're going to be right in her ear, like, oh, why are you with that guy? You could do so much better, and that kind of thing. Don't do group dates. It's just a bad way to go. And then also think about the fact that in the early stages of dating, you're trying to get to know each other. You're trying to learn more about each other. You're trying to connect on an emotional, spiritual, philosophical levels. You can't really do that if you're also trying to carry on conversations with multiple other people who you also don't know. So don't do group dates. It's a bad way to go. The next one is keep it classy. I'm not saying that there's never an appropriate place for sexual innuendo in a text, but in the early stages of dating, unless she has initiated that kind of contact with you, don't do it. Keep it classy, keep it light, keep it fun, keep it playful, don't make it dirty. The next one is overestimating her attraction level for you. And most guys are guilty of this. We are feeling head over heels. We're crazy about her. We're picking out kids' names and whatever. And we think, well, surely she feels the same way that I do. And we overrate her attraction level for us. The other thing that we tend to forget is that women are very much drawn to how they are feeling in that moment. And guess what? It's just like the weather, at least here in Texas. It can change on a dime. And so how she's feeling right now might not be how she was feeling 10 minutes ago, and it might not be how she's feeling tomorrow. So don't be afraid to look at her actions over a longer period of time in order to best gauge her attraction level for you. It can change very quickly, and it's probably lower than what you think it is. Think about her texts, going back to the text message scenario that I mentioned earlier. Are her texts short? Are they blunt? Are they curt? Is she taking a long time to respond? Or does she respond very quickly? Does she respond with very lengthy texts? Is she sweet and loving or flirty in her texts? Is there a connection there that she's trying to build with you? Those are the kinds of things that you want to look for. And then when she's with you in person, is she looking you in the eyes? Is she touching you in any way? Is her body coming into contact with your body? Those kinds of things. And of course, this is really in the early stages before you've likely had sex. All right, and sign number 11 is moving too quickly. I've talked about this a little bit already, about how guys tend to rush to the altar and we're picking out baby names and that kind of thing. Women fall in love a lot slower than guys do. So take it slow. Take a deep breath. Ideally, you want to be going a little bit slower than she is. And you don't want to be going out on dates more than once a week initially, unless she is initiating those follow-up dates. So let's say you've had one date and it went really well. Are you going to text her immediately? No, you're not. You're going to wait probably at least 3 or 4 days before you text her. And in that text, you say, hey, I had a great time. Love to see you again. When are you free next week? You're not going to go out on 2 dates in the same week, again, unless she initiates it. But 1 date a week initially to let her anticipation build. You want to come across as a little bit mysterious still. She wants to be a little unclear as to how much you like her and where this might be going. You want her to be thinking about you. And if you put all your cards on the table, there's no mystery. There's nothing for her to wonder about or guess about because you've told her everything that there is to know. So you want a little mystery because it's going to get her brain engaged in thinking about you. And the more she thinks about you, the more her attraction level is going to grow. Anyway, I happen to be back on dating apps now after a breakup recently. The last woman that I was seeing for well over a year, I actually met on Tinder. And so I had a very successful experience there. I also went on several dates back then with several women, and almost all of them, I think one was the exception, almost all of them I met on dating apps. So I do know a few things about how to make dating apps work for guys. And I'm not a spring chicken. I'm a middle-aged guy. So if you're new to dating apps, if you're not sure how to set them up for success, if you're not sure how to use them, if you're not sure what to do, I want you to check out this video of mine on my channel where I walk you through all the do's and don'ts of dating apps. And if I can have that kind of success, I know you can too. But for now, I'll see you in the next video.